From K2 and Willamette University, this is Your Voice, Your Vote with Steve Dunn.
Good morning, I'm Angelica Thornton filling in for Steve Dunn. Thank you for joining us on Sunday, December 1st. I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving weekend. This country's 119th Congress will be sworn in just 33 days. Missing from the Oregon delegation will be longtime Congressman Earl Blumenauer. Blumenauer announced last year that after nearly 3 decades in Congress, he would not seek re-election in Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. The Blue District includes Portland and most of Multnomah County, also parts of Clackamas and Hood River counties. K2 and this program's sponsor, Willamette University, would like to fill you in on Blumenauer's 50 years of public service. We dug into K2's archive for a look back at Blumenauer's political journey.
House Joint Resolution 84.
The year is 1978. Portland Democrat Earl Blumenauer is a member of the Oregon House. In this video, he's urging his colleagues to pass a bill that would allow Oregonians to vote on a property tax relief plan.
It's not time to nitpick about minor details. There will be stability.
Voters elected him to the legislature in 1972.
I'm asking if it's possible.
He was in his 20s at the time, one of the youngest lawmakers in state history. He served 3 terms in the legislature before winning election to the Multnomah County Commission in 1978.
I think that a 5% rollback is probably warranted.
And it's a perfectly valid goal if you want the city employees to be.
Blumenauer's next political move, the Portland City Council. That election took place in 1986. The Portland mayor at the time, tavern owner Bud Clark. After 10 years as a city commissioner, opportunity knocked.
Earl Blumenauer, I'm running for Congress.
Here's a portion of a reporter's story that K2 aired in 1996.
Earl Blumenauer is also doing what he's done since the 60s, running for office. The 47-year-old says his top priority in Congress is the same issue he's been writing for 2 decades, light rail.
Be able to make sure that we have the south-north rail line established. That can make a difference of $2 to $3 billion for our community.
Blumenauer won Ron Wyden's congressional seat that year in a special election. Wyden was elected to the U.S. Senate after the resignation of Bob Packwood. Congressman Blumenauer spent the next 28 years representing Oregon's 3rd District. And with me now, Representative Earl Blumenauer. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Okay, that was a quick summary of your career. You lived this life. What goes through your mind when you see some of those old videos and those old fashion choices as well?
Different haircuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I just reflect on what a pleasure it's been to be able to spend my life working on these issues since I was a college student. You know, getting up in the morning and the only thing you have to do is see if there's something you can do to make the world a little bit better. And there's no playbook. We've been able to do things the Portland and the Oregon way that gives me great satisfaction reflecting back on it.
As a young man, did you think that this would be your life?
No. I thought I would maybe I went to law school. I thought I might be a professor. I just kind of fell into politics working on the campaign to lower the voting age in college. I got the bug. It seemed really interesting, exciting, and important, and it just continued to feel that way for 54 years.
Given your passion for politics, any regrets about not running for another term in Congress?
No, it was time. One of the things I think is important in this business is to know when it is time to move on. I felt very strongly that it wasn't worth my while to spend 2 more years campaigning to serve 2 more years in a dysfunctional Congress. Coming back here, working on things, I felt I could do more as a civilian, and I felt right at the time, and it feels ever more correct as time goes on.
Looking back, what accomplishments are you most proud of?
Well, that's like asking, you know, who's your favorite child?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your favorite restaurant? Looking back, what I'm most proud of is the range of things we've done to bring people together to solve problems, whether it's food policy, health care, bike partisanship, transportation, animal welfare. We found things that people could combine their efforts, and we're not partisan. Brought people together to solve problems rather than create new ones. I'm very proud of that legacy.
If you could get a redo on any part of your career, what would that be? Or would it be anything?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I would have a little different pace, maybe. I give a letter to every new member of Congress. I hand deliver it with things that I wish people had told me and my family when I came back here. And I think, reflecting, I would take more of my own advice. Slow it down, more time for family and friends, and not quite as much, because it can become overwhelming.
You can get caught up in it.
Absolutely.
Especially the pace of D.C., as you know.
Right.
Let's focus on what's happening right now in D.C. Republicans won the White House, the Senate, the House in the November election. Give us your perspective on why Democrats lost all three.
Well, I think it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a gift of telling people what they want to hear and convinces them. It's this is the game show host that he was, Apprentice, or being the real estate huckster, the art of the deal. He was able to make claims, and on any normal planet, there are things that simply don't compute. But people forgot how bad it was when he left office. Joe Biden got zero credit for amazing things, but people were cranky. People wanted to move on. They wanted change. And Biden didn't have the good sense to step aside when he should have. So it was a combination of those things that contributed to this. I think the public is in for a rude awakening in the years ahead in terms of the inability to deliver on these promises. And the people that he has appointed to the cabinet are just scary.
Are you worried about the future of this country?
I know some of those people. Tulsi Gabbard, who is playing footsie with the Russians and the Syrians, being head of our intelligence. I mean, that's unfathomable. He wanted Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General, picking Fox News personalities for important positions. This is serious business. And the notion that Elon Musk is going to cut 30% of the federal budget is nonsensical and scary. Now, they'll try to do some of it, but there's going to be some collateral damage that we're not going to like.
What do you think Democrats need to do to win back voters in 2026?
I think it's just being honest with the public, being, focusing on kitchen table issues that matter to people. We've got an example here in the Pacific Northwest, Marie Guzenkamp-Perez, in a very difficult district, won by a larger margin. Janelle Bynum beat a fairly popular incumbent, sticking to the basics. And I think that's what Democrats need to do.
So Oregon's delegation is made up of 1 Republican, 5 Democrats. What are some of the challenges?
And 5 women.
5 women, which is extraordinary. What do you think some of the challenges those Democrats are going to face with Republicans controlling all 3 branches of government?
Well, one of the things I've found frustrating is that there were fewer people that wanted to work in a bipartisan basis. But there are still some governing wing members of the Republican Party. They're friends of mine, and I hope that our people will reach out and connect with them. The woman who's taking my place, Dr. Dexter, Maxine Dexter, is phenomenal, and she's already started to do that. So there's a path forward, and I hope that the governing wing of the Republican Party will be willing to work with the Democrats because our problems in this country demand it.
You talk about this a lot. In previous interviews, you've said that we should focus on things that bring us together rather than divide us. What do you think brings us together? What are the issues that that lead to bipartisanship
Well,
here?
the ones I just mentioned are ones that I feel very strongly about. Clean air, clean water, animal welfare, what we did to save our restaurants, infrastructure. These are work that we've done internationally to try and save people with safe water and sanitation, protecting Iraqis who helped us from the tender mercies of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. These are things that were bipartisan in nature and can be in the future.
Are you worried the Trump administration is going to reverse some of that progress?
I refuse to speculate. You know, he talks about it, but he talked a big game in his first term and ended up not doing much of that. There was some damage, to be clear. I don't know if there are going to be the pushback. He had some amazing grown-ups in his administration, respected generals who really were quite clear about the boundaries. I don't know if they're going to be the grown-ups around Trump this time.
What are you going to miss the most about Congress?
I love the people and the sense when I was there of being able to come together on things that make a difference for the country and, in fact, around the world. That is a sense of empowerment and action that is very satisfying. But I plan on doing the same thing here in our community, focusing on things that bring us together, because we've got a few things to work on here, and I'm looking forward to it.
I know you're going to be spending more time with family, but you're not really retiring. You already have a new job as a senior fellow at Portland State University and a special advisor to PSU's president. What exactly does that entail? What are you going to be doing there?
Well, I want to be able to be sort of an ambassador for the university. The Portland State University is absolutely key to the recovery of Portland. It's 18% of the downtown. There are almost 20,000 people a week on that campus, and there's amazing resources that are available in business and science and engineering. There's a role to play with the recovery in Portland and its future, and I look forward to helping in a small way move that forward.
Representative Blumenauer, can you stay for another segment?
From K2 and Willamette University, this is Your Voice, Your Vote with Steve Dunn.
Welcome back. Steve Dunn has the morning off. I'm Angelica Thornton. Sitting beside me, Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer, who is leaving that job after nearly 3 decades. We appreciate your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Portland more. Portland has been struggling with homelessness, with the drug and mental health crisis for several years. While things are improving, we know there's a long way to go. If the incoming city leadership asks for your guidance on addressing these issues, what are you going to tell them?
Well, one of the things I won't pretend to do that I've got all the answers, but I'm happy to share some experiences we've had in terms of accomplishments that we've made in Portland. And I think it's important for people to have perspective. I mean, there are several blocks downtown that are just devastated, but you go less than 3/4 of a mile in either direction, and you have some of the strongest neighborhoods anywhere in America. You and I live in one. I think it's important to have that perspective because we have an amazingly strong base. And we're watching more cooperation between the city and the county. Governor Kotek has made an extraordinary investment to try and help the metropolitan area. There's no political benefit for her to be mayor of Portland, but she's acted to help provide guidance and resources. And the new government. You know, I was a little skeptical about the proposal that was made. I didn't know how it would work out. I didn't get involved because I wanted to be in a position to maybe help whatever it was. But I was pleased with the way that campaign was waged, and the people who were elected in the main were very positive. I'm optimistic that we can pull those pieces together. We've got a strong foundation. We need to build on it.
How do you feel about a political outsider, Mayor-elect Keith Wilson, coming on board?
Well, Keith is an outsider, but not really. He's had a business that he's run successfully here.
Yeah.
He is a Portlander. He deeply cares about these issues. So he may not have been part of the city government, but he's been very much a part of the fabric of the city, and he ran a campaign of inclusion and outreach. I mean, I come back every week. Every time I turn around, where was Keith? You know,
he
really,
did pop up everywhere.
He was the Energizer Bunny, and he started on a very positive note. The city council has some very interesting people, and there's an opportunity for them to map a new path forward. And every one of them has an opportunity to take something that they can specialize in to help the city. So I'm optimistic about the pieces that are there. I think there's been some significant progress, and I think there's an opportunity to continue down this path.
You have been a longtime supporter of light rail, bike lanes, streetcars. Are you satisfied with Portland's transportation system as it is right now? If not, what would you like to see change?
Well, I think we've had a number of major accomplishments here. Our light rail system is the envy of other cities. We made the first modern streetcar system, and now there's 23 of them around the country, and we have an opportunity to expand it now up to Montgomery Park and down to John's Landing. Our bike program was a national model, but we've run into some tough sledding. Part of it in the aftermath of the pandemic. People are reckless on the roadways. It's dangerous, and I'm hopeful that we can work together to try and make a difference. I've been working to get more resources to try and fix 82nd Avenue as something that actually can bring us together rather than divide the city.
Will you get involved in a program, Vision Zero, for example, now that we're going to be working with PSU and city leaders?
Well, that was my legislation in Congress.
Yeah.
And I helped start the Transportation Center at Portland State. There's some terrific people there, and I look forward in our community to build on those programs to get such resources we can from the state and federal government, and to do a better job of using what we've got.
You talk about bipartisan issues. I think cannabis is one of those issues where we see support on both sides. So which direction are we moving in this country? What needs to happen here?
Well, this is something I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
And I started as a freshman legislator 50 years ago when Oregon was the first state to decriminalize. And I've been involved with every single state's effort. And the work that we've done at the state level has been monumental. The federal government has been slow to catch up. I've had legislation pass the House 7 times to allow them to have bank accounts, and somehow we couldn't get it across the finish line. But I think that train has left the station. The public sees the power of legal cannabis. I think 10 years from now, we will be able to have, for example, medical cannabis for Medicare, Medicaid, and veterans that'll provide better care at a lower cost.
Okay, when we were looking through our archives, we found video of you. Take a look at this. Here you are with actress Jane Fonda. This is 2003. What were you thinking when you were sitting beside her here?
Well, Jane had something to say. It was very embarrassing.
You can't share?
I can't share on the
Okay.
air. But it was an example of where there's a wide variety of people who support what we've done here. There are allies to give a little glamour to it, but people here who provide the backbone for reproductive health, for having people come together to solve problems. And Jane was sort of an example of that. And she's the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, she just keeps going.
Keeps going.
Okay, so what's the deal with the bow tie and the pin? I think that's a little bit more obvious, but how did the bow tie start? When did that become your trademark?
Well, there was a very famous business person, Bill Nadeau, who once I lost an election. And Bill, who supported me in that, thought that was not a good deal. And he thought the reason I lost the election is because people thought I was too serious. And Bill said, wear a bow tie.
Huh.
So I started sometimes wearing bow ties. When I was elected to Congress, Senator Mark Hatfield said, Earl, you sometimes wear a bow tie. And I said, yeah. And he said, always wear a bow tie. And I thought about it for a moment, and he was
How many
right.
bow ties do you have?
Oh, hundreds. But that became a signature. People could recognize who I was. It stood out.
Yeah, he's the rep with the bow tie. What about the pins? When did that start?
That started here in the city of Portland. It was a way to advocate our bike agenda. And over the years, we've given out hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah, we see them everywhere.
But it's a good symbol of bike partisanship. Everybody has a bike story. And being able to give children on the floor of the house or strangers at the airport a bike pin makes a connection. It's a conversation starter. And ultimately, it's going to make sense that we burn calories instead of fossil fuel. And bicycles are going to be an important part of a low-carbon, equitable future.
Before we say goodbye, is there anything else you wanted to tell your viewers?
No, I'm just appreciative of the chance to work with this community.
Tough to say goodbye. Yeah.
It is.
Well, we appreciate all your years of service.